If you don't do a lot of public speaking, just have a good friend read your intro.
Yeah.
Nothing makes you feel better than someone giving you that kind of endorsement. I'm thrilled to be here today, and I have to say, having a chance to hear from Craig and Annette and the work of their ministries, I'm hoping that I, in the next 15 minutes, can link these things together when it comes to understanding what is required of us as Christians in raising our time, our talent, and our treasure to really equip the gospel to come alive in every aspect of our life. And while I am in a secular context, I consult with lawyers, a lovable people group that need lots of love and ministry in our lives. I also get the opportunity to bring my faith to life by focusing on very specific principles that I'm going to share with you today. So you have a handout, and this is intended to be a worksheet. So back to Mary's point, this is where I would love for you to take notes. Because if I do my job well in the next few minutes, I am going to leave you with a very specific insight that you can apply during the break that you're going to have here in a few minutes. If I do my job well, I'm going to leave you feeling more equipped and encouraged on what you can be doing in the expression of your faith as you're making connections relationally with others. And ultimately, if I do my job well, I may inspire you to take away something very concrete that you can apply and teach others in the mentoring and engaging those that we are working with or those that we're interacting with. So let's start at the highest level. First of all, I find that most human beings would rather go to the dentist than go to a networking event where they don't know people. I'm just wondering, do I have anyone in the room right now where a root canal sounds more enjoyable than sitting down at a table, making small talk, and trying to figure out how am I going to make a connection that's going to be meaningful and is going to create something of value when I leave? I also know that some of you are on the other end of the spectrum and you've never met a stranger. I mean, like you walked in today and you're like, these are my people. I don't know you yet, but I know it's going to be awesome, and I have never met a stranger. So some of you fall somewhere on the other end of that continuum. I'd say for the large part, though, a lot of us fit in the middle. And so I want to introduce to you today 4 important fundamentals that make networking either really, really great because you're already naturally wired to it, or it will make it a whole lot less painful and perhaps more enjoyable as you think about the power of engagement. Networking is a life skill. It's a relationship skill. And so the first fundamental is to focus wherever your networking may take you on building authentic relationships. Now, many of my clients say, what do you mean by authentic? So I'm in a room of believers and I want to say it means actually care about people. I have business and marketplace leaders that say, oh, you mean like really care? Like not just about the revenue that I'm trying to get this person to give me or getting someone to join my organization. I mean like actually care. So this is one of the spaces where I think our faith comes to life. There are 3 avenues, 3 ends by which we can express authentic relationships. So as you're thinking about people that you know, people with whom you want to stay engaged, people that you want to develop a deeper relationship, there are 3 authentic reasons by which you can engage them using something very simply called the 3 N's. The first N is you invite people to engage in things that they want to engage in. Invitations is one of the most powerful ways to engage in an authentic relationship, provided that you're inviting the other person to something they want to do, something that they would find valuable, something that they would find edifying. The second is the N of introductions. We are all some level, some kind of matching.com kind of people, and that we know people that should know people. One of the great ways to engage and build a fabulous network is to introduce people that want to meet. Lastly is the N of information or insights. Nothing blesses another person than taking an interest in what it is that they're up to, and then marshaling your access to information and insights in a way that really deepens trust and ultimately builds genuineness into the relationship. So if you want to be a great networker, apply the disciplines of the 3 N's. Secondly, it's about a calling that I believe that Jesus actually meant when he gave us the golden rule. I think there's another rule that is even the higher calling that we're called to as people of faith, and that's the platinum rule. Now, golden rule is do unto others as you would do unto yourself. And that assumes that the way you treat other people is exactly the way that they want to be treated. And in my experience, there's actually a higher calling, which is to suggest that if you want to engage people in a fabulous network, engage the platinum rule, which is meet other people where they are. Do unto others as they would be done unto you. Have the compassion and the empathy to meet others where they would be most confident and comfortable and most trusting. And one of the ways we do that is by using our ears and mouth proportionately. Ask people about the things that they are interested in, and they will open the door to engage the things that you are interested in. All right, thirdly, one of the best ways to be a great network is to be in the space of acts of service. I believe that networking is an act of service, particularly when we operate with the mindset of bringing an other-centered solution. One of the best things about being a believer in the workplace is that I have a capacity to see myself having a great gift and having the confidence that I have a gift. Now, I don't know what those gifts might be, but if I can engage others in an other-centered fashion, I have a high degree of confidence that God has equipped me with a word of encouragement, a message of truth, a relationship that would be of value, access to a new opportunity or job, or simply to be an empathetic ear. Other-centered solutions is a way by which you can engage fantastic networks and nurturing high-value networks. And then lastly, many of us fall into the trap of engaging and having a great day. You're going to meet a lot of people today. You may have already had some connections, and many of you are going to say these fateful words: we should get together. Now, how often have you said to another human being, we should get together? Or maybe you've exchanged business cards with the promise of following up. Let me say, ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful things you can do, one of the ways that you can live in your faith with truth and integrity, is to master this fourth fundamental, which is securing definitive next steps. Definitive next steps are time-boxed, they're set in the moment, and they're mutual and permission-based, which is to say, whenever you make a connection and you believe that God has called you to engage in some powerful way, don't leave the energy up for chance by leaving the room. In this moment, establish what specifically are we going to do next, by when, and how is that going to create a mutual kingdom-enhancing benefit. Securing the definitive next step also allows you to be a person of your word. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do to show that you are not operating by your human strength, by supernatural strength, by being a person who does what he or she says. Now, there are lots of different things that you can begin to engage when you're thinking about your high value, nurturing a high value network, but I want to give you a few. And again, these are disciplines that you could apply immediately. First of all, is that we often fish with this idea that if I cast a wide net, I'll catch a lot of contacts, I'll catch a lot of relationships, I'll catch a lot of people. And the reality is that when we cast a wide net indiscriminately, without focus, we often will catch a lot of things and sometimes many things that distract us. I believe God calls us to really tune into his calling and then engage in relationship mapping, figuring out who are the people that have a need for what it is that I can offer. I call those people prospects. Secondly, how do we begin to engage with people who might be good connectors? Again, that could be good based on what we're called to do. And how do we build allies or alliance relationships in a powerful way? Now, I believe we should love all people in the way that God teaches us, to see them in their perfection. And when it comes to a high-value network, we have this finite thing. In fact, I intend to take it up with God. Why'd you give us so little time? In targeting, though, it's important. Based on what you're called to do in your relationship maps, apply the disciplines of A-level priorities, B-level priorities, and C-level priorities. Be loving always, and when it comes to proactive engagement, figure out where your A's are so that you can make the biggest difference. Your network gets built through lots of avenues for targeting, and so don't miss how you can engage in this network, connecting with leadership and building affiliations that can last and really nurturing the call that God has placed on your life. All right, 2 things that people ask you. Messaging. 2 questions that every person is asked. People will ask you what it is that you do, and they will ask you what's new. Now, let's be honest. When most people ask us what we do, we typically say, I am, and then we fill in the blank. I am a banker, I am a lawyer, I am a stay-at-home mom, I am a executive director of a ministry. We tell people what it says on our job titles. And I'm going to invite you to build and nurture a high-value network is to answer that question differently. From this point forward, the next time somebody asks you what you do, say something that sounds like I, verb, type of people or type of circumstance, problem solved. I teach lawyers how to be lovable. That's what I do for a living. I help people sell through authentic relationships. That is way different and way more effective than saying, I am a consultant. And you'll say, oh, that's nice. And then you move on. When it comes to your ministry work, what is the call of your ministry? You have a quick pitch for your ministry. I help women connect with God in a rooted, deeper, grounded, more fundamental way. That's what I do in my ministry. I am focused on women so that they can cultivate deeper, more grounded, fewer, more rooted relationships to know the love of Jesus Christ. So I, verb, type of people, type of organization, problem solved. Also, when people ask you what's new, most human beings respond with one of two responses. We say, nothing much, same old, or living the dream. Now let me ask you, what are we trying to accomplish there? Same old, nothing much, living the dream? Or in a lot of instances, when people ask us how we're doing, what's up, we decide to say something like, I'm crazy busy. And let me just say this, whenever you say nothing much, same old, living the dream, or I'm crazy busy, not only do you create a Heisman effect, which repels people, but you actually may leave them fearing for your mental health, just a little bit, depending how crazy you are. So let me just say this. One of the great ways that you can nurture and build a high-value network is to have a positive headline that communicates what it is you're working on professionally and what it is that you're doing personally. And instead of answering with a nothing much, same old, why not communicate something interesting that is occurring for you, particularly as it intersects with your faith? How is God using you in a powerful way in your work, whether it's in your professional life or your personal life? That is far more attractive and attracting to building a high-value network. All right, with my remaining 5 minutes, I'm going to rapid fire some tactics. And these are ways that you can absolutely make a difference in this room or any room that you're going to go to in the future. First of all, never believe that you're in a room by an accident. Never believe that it's just a lunch or it's just a board meeting or it's just a committee gathering. Every single time you engage with other people, it's an opportunity to make a difference. So I encourage you to aspire to always have a core 4 at the ready. Walk in with a clear objective. God, what do you want me to do in this room today? Number 2, have those key messages ready. Number 3, get platinum rule oriented, ask questions, and then anticipate what might happen next. If you go in with that minimum level of preparation, any environment has an opportunity to expand and engage your network more fabulously. And then lastly, how do you work a room and not look like it? We've all been in situations where we know the person that's like, hey, and that makes you feel uncomfortable. Don't be that person by following some of these things. If you want to get a better result from the networking you're doing in rooms like today, figure out who's attending and have an objective in who you want to meet. Apply the law of 1s and 3s. It's a better approach a person standing alone or a group of 3. Always avoid 2 people. Anytime 2 people are talking and try to step in a conversation, that's when you're going to have an interruption and an awkward pause. If you want to work a room and not look like it, find the person standing alone or a group of 3 and wait for the 2 to wave you in. How about engaging in activity? Rarely does networking happen while seated. I love today watching many of you mill around, whether it's at the coffee station or the breakfast area. Stay standing and engage in activity. Also, when you arrive at a large event and you don't know what to do and your inner 8th grader awkwardness is showing up, find the longest line you can stand in. You'll be amazed at how great it is to make connections by having an immediate to-do. So step in and find the longest line. It's usually a drink or food line, but you'll be amazed at how God will bring people that you were intended to meet. And sometimes He brings people that you weren't intended to meet, so it makes for an easy exit. Also, always have your business cards accessible or some way to make a connection. The 2-second rule says, have your contact information accessible. I know that sometimes when people ask you for cards and you're not yet ready, you pat yourself down, or you do the big dig, or out comes the card that's been in the wallet so long it's worn soft like a tissue, or admittedly in the summer months it might have a little heat. That's not awesome to put a hot, soft business card in someone's hand. And further to that, some of you have big bags and your head goes in and your head goes out. Nobody needs to know what the business is in that big black bag. So have your cards when you can get to them readily so that it doesn't create the awkwardness. Also, come early and stay late. A lot of times we go to networking activities and we show up in the middle when all the action's already started. You'll find the best way to make connections and nurture connections by coming early or staying late. All right, never speak about anyone or anything when they could be within 300 yards, which is basically never speak about anyone or anything in a manner which could be misconstrued. You don't know who's around you, and I can promise you Christians get the biggest dings for the gossip and the small talk that we think no one is listening to. And as I wear my cross, everyone is listening. And finally, if you got to get out of a conversation, how do you do it with finesse? I'll just say, apply the disciplines of 3 minutes to be gracious, 10 minutes to be interested, and 15 minutes when you know that there's a reason to get together again. Because all too often, we don't use our time and steward our time well because we over-invest in one person or conversation, and we use up all our good material. If you have to exit with finesse, please resist the temptation to say, so I'm here to meet other people, I gotta run. Or look over a person's shoulder and make them feel like they are not important. Our opportunity is to simply excuse ourselves, step away, and if you get really, really stuck, simply ask yourself to be excused, check an email, make a phone call, but do it in a way that leaves the other person's feelings and emotions and ego intact. All right, I hope that I've given you some ideas. Rarely do you make one connection and it ends up in a big donation to your charities. Rarely do you make one connection and somebody gives you the big sell. But I will say that God calls us to have the tenacity to stay connected. And there are lots of ways that we can do this, but the idea here is to do it with authenticity and engagement, with an other-centered platinum rule focus. And the best way to stay connected is to always leave your interactions with definitive next steps. Tommy and Mary, thank you all so much for having me. I am racing out the door to go to O'Hare to San Diego. So good luck, everyone. God bless you, and thank you.